Hey guys, what's up? I'm Lauren from Pinkbird Originals, and today I want to talk to you all about how much it cost me to start up my home embroidery business and how long it took before I started making a profit. I also want to say a big hello to my mum and dad because I know they watch all of my YouTube videos. If you'd also like to say hello to my mum and dad, please leave a "Hi mum and dad" in the comment section below. Now, let's see if I can actually make a YouTube video that's under 20 minutes. First of all, I want to address the question, can you start an embroidery business using a single needle domestic embroidery machine? Yes, you can. However, there is something you should bear in mind. Once you start using your single needle domestic machine for business use or industrial use, you will actually void the warranty on that machine. So say something in the machine breaks within your first year of owning it and you take it back to the dealership and you say to the guy, "Oh, fix it for me, I need it back urgently for my business." The dealer is going to go, "Whoa, you're not meant to be using your embroidery machine for this," and they're probably only gonna repair your embroidery machine for a fee, even if it's still under warranty. But that didn't stop me. I purchased my first single needle embroidery machine back in 2016. I had every intention of using it for a business. I didn't actually know about the warranty thing. I only found that out after I broke my embroidery machine, took it to the dealership and said exactly that, "Fix it for me, I needed to get my orders out," and the dealer was like, "No girl, no, you have made a terrible mistake here." So anyway, I had to pay to have my embroidery machine fixed, but that didn't contribute to the overall startup cost of the embroidery business. The largest expense was, of course, buying the embroidery machine. I've also made another YouTube video about which is the best embroidery machine to buy for a beginner, because as I explain in that video, I regret my first choice for my first embroidery machine, but that's a whole different story and that's in the other video. The point is, I purchased a very small embroidery machine for £500 and it was brand new. I bought it off a website, not from a dealership, but it was a brother machine. So when I did run into trouble with it, because it was a brother machine, I could take it to any brother point of contact in the country and they'd have a look at it for me. But yeah, that cost me £500 at the time. It's a little bit irrelevant now because while making this video, I did do a bit of research about what are the cheapest embroidery machines on the market at the minute, and I think because of COVID and lockdown and everybody working from home, everybody looking for that next side hustle, the demand for embroidery machines has absolutely skyrocketed. And the particular machine that I bought, I don't know if they've just discontinued it or if everywhere has completely run out of it. You can't seem to buy that embroidery machine anywhere anymore. So if I was starting up my business now, I would probably be spending about £800 to £900 in 2021. But I started my business in 2016 where everything was sunshine and rainbows and COVID free, and at the time I paid £500 for my embroidery machine, and that was the biggest outlay at the time. It was also half of my savings, so it was very scary. It was a very scary investment, but one that definitely paid off. The second most important thing you need to purchase is embroidery thread. To start out with, I purchased, I think it was 26 reels of unbranded embroidery thread from eBay. My embroidery machine did come with some embroidery threads. What the online shop actually sent me was something like 60 reels of cotton, just regular sewing cotton, which you can't use in your embroidery machine. And don't you dare be one of those people who wraps the same colour cotton around their bobbin as on their top thread to just forget it, to ignore tensions and things like that. Don't do that. Buy the proper threads, learn how to use your tensions. Starting out, the £36 cheap cottons off eBay were great. They worked for a time, but as the embroidery machine started to kind of wear in, I noticed a lot more thread tears in my cheaper cottons, so I had to upgrade to a better brand, and I chose Madeira just because everybody seemed to be talking about Madeira, everybody seemed to be recommending Madeira. Madeira have two options. They have the Madeira classic cottons, which come on these white embroidery spools. And they have the poly neon cottons, which come on these sort of greyish spools. You can see there's a slight difference in colour with the white and the light grey. The difference is classic cottons are made out of 100% cotton. Poly neon cottons tend to be a little bit cheaper, but they're all synthetics. The cost of the classic cotton is about £4.65 including VAT, and the cost of the poly neon is £4 including VAT. If you go into the poly neon, I might recommend you check out another brand called Isocord, because that's also poly neon and it's about 50p cheaper. Generally speaking, cottons come in two different sizes when you buy them from a brand. 1000 meter reels look like this, and 5000 meter reels look like this. There are 5 of these on one of these, and price wise, these are about £14, whereas these are £4.65. So you're essentially getting one cotton free if you buy in this size. So I'd recommend buying the 5000 meter reels for the cotton colours you use a lot, like black and white. Next, to embroider projects, you need Embroidery Stabilizer, which is the backing material that goes underneath your fabric, and it sort of holds the design in place so it doesn't shift around. There are lots of different types of stabilizer out there, and they come in a variety of weights. For example, here are 2 examples of tearaway stabilizer. This one weighs 75 grams, and this one is a lightweight tearaway and it only weighs 40 grams. Each stabilizer has a different purpose, and I'll do another video on that in the near future. But for general purposes, if you buy yourself some medium weight cutaway or some heavyweight tearaway, they're very good general all-purpose stabilizers that you can use on most of your projects. When I first started buying stabilizer, I used to buy from Madeira again, and I found that Madeira were very expensive, like too expensive compared to other competitors for me to be able to justify. And I found that Madeira were very expensive. In fact, like some of the Madeira stabilizers were crazy, as much as £3.50 a metre when they were only like 33 centimetres wide. So I did a little bit of shopping around and I found some alternatives on eBay that work just as well. And to give you a rough idea of what the price of those were, I was paying 40 pence a metre for 30 centimetres wide by 100 metres long. I know 100 metres sounds like a lot, but you do tend to go through stabilizer quite quickly, and so I recommend bulk buying it from the offset just because it saves you so much money doing it this way. Next, I needed to buy bobbin thread. Bobbin thread is the thread that goes underneath the embroidery design. I used to buy the branded Brother bobbin thread. It cost me £5 for about 1000 metres. I know that sounds a lot compared to the embroidery thread, which was £4.65 for 1000 metres, but you tend to find bobbin thread is like stretched out longer, so it lasts longer than the embroidery thread itself. Then you actually need materials to embroider onto. I was pretty set in my mindset. I knew I wanted to make patches, and for me, I knew that felt was a very stable material to embroider onto, so I started buying felt by the metre. When I first started, I was paying £10 to £12 at Hobbycraft for craft felt, which I now know is extortionately overpriced, and the general sort of average price for craft felt by the metre is between £6 and £7 depending where you buy it from and in what size quantity you buy it from. So word of advice is, when it comes to business or running a business, just steer clear of places like Hobbycraft because they're just crazy overpriced and it's really going to mess up your profit margin. I know a lot of people are buying their embroidery machines not just for making patches, or even they don't plan on making patches at all. Most people buy an embroidery machine to go into garment decorating. Back in the day, there used to be this really fantastic show in Birmingham in the NEC called Printwear and Promotion, where you could just toddle along to, and it was an embroidery and print show where they had all the industrial embroidery machines there on display, and also all of the clothing brands, all of the local distributors would go there and they just put all of their clothes on display, and you could look at them and feel them and find the clothes that suited your purposes, and then you could open up accounts with these distributors and start purchasing from them. Unfortunately, print-to-end promotion isn't a thing this year because of COVID, but just to help you out a little bit, to get a foot in the door, the main suppliers in the UK are Pencarry, Prestige Leisure, Absolute Apparel, BTC Activewear, and I think it's also called Rallowise, but I don't actually have an account with Rallowise. I'll put the links to these businesses in the description below. These guys are wholesalers, so you can buy your garments from them at wholesale prices. To give you a rough idea of how much a typical t-shirt is, depending on the quality, including VAT, you can get a t-shirt from these suppliers from as little as £2.15 up to £5, again depending on the quality you choose to go for. And then if you decorate that, you could sell it for as much as £10 to £20. It's just however much you feel that your time and work is worth. Some other popular garments include hoodies. You can buy hoodies from your distributor from as little as £6 all the way up to £11 or £13. Again, it just depends on the weight of the garment and the quality you're looking for. Then, because I'm running a patch business, I needed iron-on backing. I was paying £4.95 a metre for iron-on backing, which is very pricey. You can bring the cost down on most things if you bulk buy, but be prepared if you're bulk buying. You're usually talking about getting it in 50 to 100 metres or more to get a decent discount. Then, and this was another large expense, I needed digitizing software in order to make my embroidery designs. You can pay a digitizer to make the designs for you. Usually they charge a fee of anywhere between £12 to £30, depending on how complex the design is. And you need to think of whether that would suit you better than shelling out for an expensive digitizing software and then having to take the time to learn how to use that software. The software I purchased was called Embroider. I needed to purchase Embroider Basic and the Embroider Studio plugin in order to be able to turn my pictures into embroidery files, and that set me back £300. But that was the last really big expense that I had to pay to get started. Everything else from that point on was much smaller. For example, the packaging I need to send out my orders. That includes card, sellotape, envelopes, all those sort of things. It's kind of hard to add up how much that cost me originally, but if I say about £20 covered all of that, and then I can start sending out my orders. I also purchased business cards to put in with each of my orders. I'm not actually sure whether business cards are a good investment for online retailing, because if you think about it, the customer has already found you. If you send a business card to them saying, oh, I am available here, they're like, yeah, I already know. And that business card just sort of goes in the bin. So I'm not sure if it's really worth adding business cards to online sales unless you've got something else to offer the customer to entice them back, such as a promotion code, or if, say, they contacted you through Etsy and you want to redirect them to your website, then I think business cards are a bit more relevant. But anyway, I ordered 100 business cards and that set me back £12.87. And then last but not least, even though I was selling on Etsy originally, I wanted to get my own website. I signed up with GoDaddy. I don't particularly recommend GoDaddy, even though I'm still with them. I've heard a lot of good things about Shopify, but my GoDaddy subscription is costing me £20 a month. So I think that covers everything that I use to start up my embroidery business. So let's add it all up. The embroidery machine cost £500. The cheap threads I bought off eBay were £36. Stabilizer, if I bought the smaller reels from Madeira, will cost me about £12. I bought 5 1000 metre bobbins to start with, and they cost me £5 each, so that was £25. And then I sort of set aside £30 for general materials to use. In my case, I bought a lot of felt. But if you're looking at buying t-shirts and hoodies to embroider on, then this particular section will vary depending on what you're buying. If you're very limited on the amount of money you can spend like I was, I'd really recommend embroidering onto scrap material first. So getting out your old school hoodies, fleeces, t-shirts you don't use anymore, scarves you don't use anymore, that sort of thing. A variety of different materials just to help you with sampling your embroidery designs before stitching them onto the final products. Then I worked out I spent roughly £40 on stationery, so that's like scissors and sellotape and envelopes and just general packing materials. And then lastly, I paid about £20 a month for my GoDaddy domain, my website and storefront where I sell my products from. And of course the digitizing software, that set me back about £300. So overall then, back in 2016, it cost me about £960 total to start up my embroidery business. If I was to start it today, as I mentioned before, because the smaller machine that I initially purchased just isn't available right now, I'd have to purchase a larger machine. So if I was looking to start the same business today, I'd probably be looking at spending about £1,300, £1,400 instead of £960. So that was my initial outlay, and I was pretty lucky. I think I started doing quite well straight off the bat. I was getting sales through my Etsy and I was getting sales through my website straight away because my social media marketing did quite well. Because I already had a little bit of a fan base on Tumblr, and I was able to direct people to my website, and Etsy was quite good at pulling in new customers to my Etsy store just by itself. But I really did understand that this was a long-term investment. I was running my business alongside a part-time job, so I wasn't like wholly focused on growing my business and seeking out new ways to generate revenue. I was just making patches for fun and sticking them online and seeing what kind of sales they would bring me. Also, learning to digitize and create your own designs using the digitizing software is a very big learning curve. I'd actually say it took me about 3 months to learn to digitize proficiently. And even then I wasn't particularly good at it. Like a lot of my designs still had like some flaws and issues with, so digitizing was something it took a long time to learn, and that held me up on producing new designs to put in my storefronts to produce revenue. Also, I had to be quite realistic because I was making a fairly low value item. I was exclusively making embroidery patches, and while the production costs of making embroidery patches are fairly low, the time it takes to make a patch is very long. So by looking at those two things in proportion, cost it takes to make the embroidery patch versus time it actually takes to physically embroider the patch, because I wanted to be working for more than minimum wage to make it be worth my while, I eventually paid off my initial outlay in about the middle of November time. So I started in July, and then it was all of August, all of September, all of October, and then most of November, I want to say. I did a few Comic Cons and craft fairs in this time, and that helped bump up my profits as well. So if we look at that and say I only actually made £1,000 in, was it August, September, October? I only actually made £1,000 in about 3.5 months, which isn't a huge amount of money. But any profit you make, you can scale it up when it comes to business. Also, my products were in quite high demand, so by the time December came, or November and December came, and we were sort of hitting a little bit of a Christmas rush, I found that I couldn't meet the demand of my products on just one single needle embroidery machine, so I ended up buying another embroidery machine, a bigger embroidery machine called the Brother V3, which again was a single needle, but that cost me £2,000 from brand new. So all of that effort to sort of break even was then like knocked back into the red as I purchased another embroidery machine. And in addition to this, I'd been obviously replenishing and restocking my materials as I was going along. So that would have had an impact on my profits as well. It probably took me a little bit longer to break even, but generally speaking, I paid off the initial outlay of the machine and the supplies, my original £1,000 investment, by December time. Something worth considering is if you're looking for a quick return, it's better to make products that yield a high profit. I know that sounds very common sense, but it's something that never occurred to me when I was first starting my business. If I had made hoodies, which I would say buying and embroidering for £15 and then selling on for £30, I would have made my investment back much quicker than I would have just exclusively selling patches. And that's it really, that's how I started. It wasn't a huge investment. Like, I know a lot of people invest like thousands and thousands into new businesses, but I personally don't think £1,000 to start a new business is that much money. Like, as long as you're not stretching yourself too thin, you can definitely do it because the potential for profit is there. But it's important to remember that when you're running a business, at the very start, you're not really making a profit for yourself. You're not really taking money away from the business. All of the profit you make goes back into the business, hence why I used the money I made so far to purchase another embroidery machine, because I knew it would help me grow my business, and it did. In my first year of business, I think I made £7,000, and then in my second year I doubled that because I purchased more machines. Again, I purchased my six needle brother PR, and it enables you to do more work quicker, so your profit is higher. Yeah, you see your return much quicker. And then you just got to keep doing that. Every time you make money, you put it back into the business until eventually you feel like you're meeting the demand sufficiently that you don't need to buy another machine. And that is when you start seeing profit that you can take out of the business and keep for yourself and use as a wage. Anyway, I think that sort of sums it up. I hope you found this video helpful. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below in the comment section and I'll reply to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.